Recently, I did a video going over the various business ventures of the Ace family, and we talked about how they missed multiple opportunities to make hundreds of millions of dollars. And even though that was already bad enough, they were also going through a foreclosure on their California mansion. Well, they finally got tired of all the critics like myself, and they put out a response video detailing what exactly happened with the foreclosure. So today I'm going to be going over some issues that I had with their video, as well as what you can learn from their situation. If you're new to my channel, my name's Ryan Pineda. I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur here in Las Vegas. I've flipped hundreds of homes, I own hundreds of rentals, and I also have multiple businesses doing millions a year in profit. If you want a free consultation on how those businesses can help you, go to ryanpineda.com. Now, if you're unfamiliar with who the Ace family is, they got famous on YouTube and have almost 20 million subscribers. And over the years, they've made significant money through their YouTube channel and other businesses that they've started. But during this time, they had a lot of issues managing those businesses to their full potential. And this is what I went in depth on in my video previously, so go check that out after this one. I'll link to it down below in the description. Now, the purpose of this video is not to talk about those businesses. I actually want to go over their foreclosure, which they finally addressed. Up to this point, when the news came out their house was up for auction, they were denying the claim. Reporters were starting to ask them what was going on with the house, and Austin told them that no, they are not going through an eviction or a foreclosure. But none of this made any sense because a foreclosure is public record. There's no way to hide it. All you gotta do is look through the county records and you will see whose home is in foreclosure. And for the first time in months, the Ace family finally acknowledged it in an hour-long video. They said that for the last 3 years, the house has been a complete nightmare for them, and they let it go and gave it back to the bank. Now, the video was an hour long, but I think it could be summed up into 2 points on how they got to foreclosure. The first is that they believe the builder and the realtor completely screwed them and gave them a bad house. The second is that they never got CO on the house. If you don't know what CO is, it stands for Certificate of Occupancy, and it's what allows you to legally live in the house. So they've been actually living in this big mansion on a hill for 3 years illegally. So let's talk about those 2 points and see what's actually true and what we can learn from this situation. But before we do that, let me be clear that my intention with this video is not to hate on the Ace family or try and bring them down. I've made many different business mistakes throughout my career, and thankfully for me, they weren't as public as what the Ace family is going through. So I am sympathetic to their situation, but I will say they are not taking enough accountability for what happened. So let's talk about the transaction of the house from Austin's point of view. Basically, the story goes, Austin was driving around the neighborhood and he saw that there were these 2 houses being built on a hill. And while these houses were being constructed, he went directly to the builder and asked him if they could combine the houses into one. Mainly because this hill was so private by itself, it made more sense to have one house up there who has everything as opposed to 2. The builder said he would look into it and see if they could change the plans and all the permits, and eventually got back to Austin and said, yes, we can make it happen. Now, during this time, it's unclear from their story when a realtor got involved. If Austin saw the house and went directly to the builder, I'm not sure when the realtor got involved, unless the builder referred him to their realtor. And from the sound of the story, it didn't seem like Austin got his own realtor to represent him on the purchase. It sounded more like he was going direct to the builder and he was going to save costs by not having to pay his own realtor. It's just an educated guess, but I'll give you the reason why here in a minute. Now, as they go into contract and the builder starts finishing the house, the realtor tells the family that they can get a loan for this house, but it's got to be a hard money loan. And if you don't know what a hard money loan is, it's a very high interest loan that has a very short time frame, typically 1 to 2 years max. And the only reason you'd get a hard money loan is if it's an investment property that you're looking to flip, or if you don't qualify for the right amount of credit, or if the house is not in livable condition, so you can't get traditional financing. Well, as we already know, he wasn't able to get CO, which explains why he had to get a hard money loan. The house was not livable. It never passed the inspections required to get a normal conventional loan. But nonetheless, they decided to go through with that loan and purchase the property. Now, after buying the property is when they realized a couple of things. For one, they said that the GC working on the project was not licensed at all. Apparently, he was working under a different contractor's license, and he was not the one who was actually licensed. And because of that, the work was done really shoddy, the doors and everything that they got were not what they paid for, and overall, the house was just badly built. But the second thing that he realized after buying the home was that it did not have the CO. And by not having the CO, technically they cannot even live there. And they know this is true because they were not able to get gas hooked up to the house, so they claimed that they were having showers that were cold, they never used their stove, and in the winter, renters, it was really cold because they couldn't use their heat. Pretty crazy to see this $10 million plus mansion not have hot water. But even with all these problems, they still decided to live in the house for all these years. And it wasn't until recently when the loan became due, because you gotta remember it's a short-term hard money loan, that they just decided it wasn't worth it. We're just gonna give it back because they couldn't get CO, it was poorly built, and there's just a bunch of bad memories in the home. Now that's the whole story from their perspective. I'm sure there are other things that obviously they couldn't put on video, but let me give you a few things that stuck out to me right off the bat that I definitely don't believe. For one, let's talk about the GC and the claim that this guy wasn't licensed. Assuming that was true, he was still working under someone else's license. So there is still repercussion for the other person they were working under. If I was them and there was all these problems with the house, I would have gone after the guy with the actual license and I would have reported him to the contractors board if he didn't fix it. They make no mention of going after the guy with the actual license. They only talk about the guy who was building the house. And they say there's no way they could collect from him because he has no money at all. Well, that guy doesn't even matter. The only guy that matters is the one with the license. And you can go after him for either money, for restitution, you can take him to the board and get his license revoked. There's a whole bunch of things you can do. I personally have had to do them on properties before. So to me, they need to explain that part on why they didn't go after that guy. So let's talk about the second claim, which is the realtor screwed them. I would really like to know if the realtor represented them or the seller. As I said before, my guess is the realtor was representing the seller and they went unrepresented trying to get a better deal by being direct. We do this all the time with house flips. We say, hey, we'll buy it directly from you. You don't have to pay realtor fees. You can just kind of deduct the price lower so we can represent ourselves. But the only reason we're able to do that is because we buy houses for a living. We know what we're doing. Probably not something you want to do with a $10 million brand new house that you don't really know much about. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the realtor probably didn't represent their best interest because they might not have represented them. But also too, even if the realtor represented them, it still does not explain how they didn't know about CO. When they closed on that house, I can almost guarantee it that there was paperwork stating that they acknowledge the house has not gotten CO yet and they are going to buy it as is without it. And you have to believe that with the red flag of not qualifying for a conventional loan, it should probably tell you that there's no CO on this house. And even if you didn't know, you should have got a home inspection and the inspector could have told you that they can't even inspect it because there's no gas. Whenever one of our agents at Forever Home Realty sells a house, they get their buyers a home inspection. And the home inspector will not inspect the house without having gas because they got to make sure that the stoves work, the heaters work, everything. And so my guess is they never got a home inspection, or they did get a home inspection, but they just said, it's okay, I'll buy it without CO. Either way, the story just doesn't make sense. But the only thing I will say is they may not have known what CO actually was. It is totally possible that they thought that they could easily get it once they bought the home, and so they weren't too concerned about it. But nonetheless, that's the whole reason they got in the situation, because they did not do the proper things before buying the house. To give you an example, I recently did a video about a house I'm thinking about moving into. I paid $1.8 million for it, and I got a hard money loan just like the Ace family did. And in fact, I was recently in a similar situation to the Ace family. I purchased a brand new home that was not fully completed yet. I bought it for $1.8 million. It was built this year, but it is not finished. But before buying it, I made certain that the seller got CO on the house. And if you go watch that video, you'll see the house is not done. There's not even any flooring. There's not toilets in some of the bathrooms. In order to get CO, all they had to do was put one toilet in and one other thing. It wasn't difficult, but I still made them get it because I didn't want to have the liability of getting it myself. So my point is, getting CO was not that difficult, and whatever the city was asking them to do, I can't imagine it was gonna be that hard. Also, what's interesting about this whole story is throughout the video, they talk about how their uncle has been helping them out throughout the year, fix all the stuff that's wrong with the house, and how he's got a construction background and all these things. And I was just thinking while I was watching this, like, where was the uncle when you bought the house? Did he not inspect it? Did he not wanna look at who was building it? Did he not wanna tell you that, hey, you should probably wait till you get CO? The whole thing's crazy, but what I will say is there's 3 keys that you can learn from this whole scenario. 1, make sure you get a realtor that represents you. Don't just use the realtor who represents the builder. They're always gonna have allegiance to the seller more so than you, even if they have to legally, be undivided. It just doesn't work that way. If they started off with the seller, they're gonna have some loyalty to the seller more than you. So get your own realtor if you wanna do a deal. Second thing is, every time you buy a house, get an inspection. If they would have just got a home inspection, they would have told him there's no gas in this place, and by the way, this house isn't livable yet. You can't live here if you wanted to. The third thing is, make sure you understand the loan that you are getting. Apparently, they've been paying this hard money loan at $70,000 a month for the last couple of years. And according to them, they never missed a payment. They were paying it all the way up until the foreclosure. But the reason they got foreclosed on was because the loan just ended. It was a short loan. So understand which loan that you are getting when you're buying a house. And also, if you want to learn to invest in real estate the right way and you want to make sure you can protect yourself from all these things, definitely go check out futureflipper.com. You can get into one of our programs and learn how to invest and flip houses today. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned some lessons. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.